Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Healing Project. Tonight is a special episode. Usually our shows are on Mondays, but we have a good topic that we're going to be discussing on tonight with our special guest, Tosha Dearborn. She is a founder of uh, I want to say Express. Well, I'm going to allow her to come on later and talk about her nonprofit that she has in her community. I met Tosha on Facebook, and I've been following her for some time and seeing the good things that she's doing in the community and in the young people's lives. She is a mother, and she, like I said, she's an advocate for our young people in the community. I won't hold any longer, but my name is Tina Rane. I am the host for tonight, the Healing Project. Our topic we'll be talking about tonight will be how to break toxic cycles within our children. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Miss Tosha on and let her do her thing. Hey, Tosha.
Hey, how you
How you
doing?
doing? How you doing?
I'm good.
Good, good, good. I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. I know it's about 9 o'clock over on your side of town,
Yes, it
your side of
is.
the world. I thank you for staying up
You're welcome.
talk so we can discuss about how to break toxic cycles within our children. Oftentimes, as parents, we understand we doing that life thing as well. Sometimes we're just repeating what we know, from coming up. But tonight we're going to talk about uh, these things that sometimes we don't want to discuss or we don't like to discuss because it's either hurtful or it brings some triggers within our lives, or um, we just don't want to deal with it because I
Mhm.
know you heard it before coming up too. Um, I'm the parent, you the child, so you do what I say, not as I do.
Mhm.
So we're gonna go and we're gonna dive into that on tonight. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. So Miss Tasha, tell us a little
Okay.
bit about what you do in your community. What is it that your organization do?
Okay, so I have an organization called Positive Express here in Houston, Texas, surrounding areas. What it is an organization that helps young girls, well, girls, I would say young girls, but we kind of move from the smaller girls to mostly the teenagers and up.
Okay.
But it's veered to them to be able to help break childhood trauma
Mm,
cycles as well as
mm,
build self-esteem in within themselves so that they can know who they are
right.
as an individual, besides the abuse that has happened or whatever trauma that they have experienced. So that's what the organization is about here. And we do one-on-one mentoring as well as group mentoring, volunteering, different workshops. We talk a lot about the different child, just abuse period, such
Okay.
as sexual abuse, domestic violence, teenage dating violence, any kind of trauma that they've been through. We try to get it to a platform where we can have those discussions with
Okay.
just the girls and their parents. Sometimes it's a lot of the women come and join us as well.
Good, good, good. And I know it's a big thing of trauma because a lot of us have at some point in our life gone through some type of trauma, whether it's something that we caused upon ourselves, or something that we had no control over because we were younger and that was just the environment that we were in.
Right.
I'm glad to see that you're reaching out and you're working with the young ladies because oftentimes being a young lady, being a woman growing up, and it's all about the magazines, and now they have the social
Hmm.
media, so now they're seeing, oh well, she has a nice body, or
Right.
her hair is this, or her clothes is this, so now they're trying to keep up, as they say, with the Joneses, and not knowing how to embrace who they are as an individual, even if you're light skin, dark skin, fair skin, whatever your skin color is, you're still beautiful and you still were created to be, who God created you to be. So,
Absolutely.
it's good. I'm happy to see that you are pouring back into our young girls because, we don't have a lot of things for young girls,
Mhm.
like we do, like for men, for young boys. There's a lot of things. I know people say the opposite, but for me, I say I see less things for women, young girls, than I do versus the young boys.
Okay.
So, and I know you have, and I know you do a drive. What is the panty drive
Right. So what we
next
do,
year?
we hold what is a panty drive every year. It
Okay.
started off by, I work in the Children's Hospital here in Houston, so I would see young girls come in and they were wanting to take a shower, and in the midst of them wanting to take a shower, they didn't have underclothes to put on, like clean
Mm.
underclothes. So,
Okay.
in my mind, I'm like, well, what person would want to put on the same dirty clothes or
Come on.
walk around in just two gowns? We have young ladies that's, having menstrual cycles and things like that.
Right.
So they not
Right.
wanting to put back on something that's already been worn. So that was when the Holy Spirit began to speak to me and say, hey, you work with girls that's dealing with self-esteem issues. What more could you do that will help somebody else to build their confidence? So
Right.
I came up with the panty drive. Let me start doing that. So we started donating towards the hospital, and
Okay.
then it has ventured out. Now we're being able to help different other facilities that I
Oh,
go
good.
into as well.
Oh, good, good, good. And later on in the show, we're gonna talk about it again. We're gonna
Okay,
revisit your organization because there's other people that's in Texas, or it can be anybody for that matter,
absolutely.
that want
Hmm.
to pour into your organization, and then allow you to give your information on how they can reach out to, how they can donate, how they can support your organization. It is a great organization. I'm telling you, I see, I follow Tasha and I see a lot of things that she do in the community. She's always getting certifications in something. She is on she
Yes.
is on she is on the road. She's on the road, but she's also a published author.
Hmm.
So she has a few books out. You want to share with us some of your books that you have out, Tasha?
Absolutely. So one of the series is called Shade No More Pain. What this is a collaborative book.
Okay.
It's a series, so it is a Shade No More Pain Part One, and then there's a Shade No More Pain Part Two, which is the Release and Set Free. What it
Mm,
is different women that have shared their stories about whatever abuse or trauma that they have encountered within their lives and how they overcame it. So
mm,
it's we use that book particular to go back into the organization. So that's how we
mm,
fund the organization with that book, as well as there's some other books that I've written as well that's dealing with young girls, dealing
mhm.
with just being able to come out of these different cycles that we keep running into.
Right.
Because I've been through many different cycles as a kid growing up and just not realizing what I was doing to myself, but it was also because I couldn't see it. I couldn't
Mhm.
recognize what was happening. So
Right.
being able to write those books and being able to share them with others is giving them a face to many girls that are minorities that
Right.
don't believe that they can do something different or be something better. We also have one book in particular, which is Turbulence and Self-Esteem of a Young Lady's Journey. And what that book is our young girls that have shared their true stories.
Oh,
And
wow.
they're helping to wanting to help somebody else know that, hey, you too can make it. You too can come out. You too can overcome whatever it is that you
Right.
faced. And, just giving them that voice and being able to, give them skills as well as being entrepreneurs. So they're able
Mm.
to sell their own books and,
Good,
be able
good.
to have a voice and a face to the community.
Good, good, good. I love it. I love it. So I heard you say, something, some things that you've been through in your childhood. So
Mhm.
going through what you've been through, so how well has that equipped you now in your purpose?
So I would say being able to look back at the things that I encountered, such as
Mm,
sexual abuse, domestic violence, teenage dating violence, gun violence, just a bunch of different things that I went through, rejection, and
mm,
feeling abandoned and feeling alone, different things. It
right.
has propelled me to have a relationship more with God, for one. And building
Good.
that relationship with God has showed me my purpose. It showed me the purpose of working with the young ladies, being
Okay.
able to be a voice for them, being able to be somebody that can pour into them and let them know that, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. I want them
Absolutely.
to know that you don't have to stay stuck in a situation because you or your family went through such certain things. You can
Right.
come out of it too. It's not define that doesn't define who you are.
Absolutely. And that's something good what you said right there. What we've gone through in life does not define who we are now as a person. But and it's good to see that you're pouring back, because I know when I was going through my things, my trials, my tribulations, and my trauma, period,
Mhm.
I didn't have pretty much people to reach reach to and say, hey,
Right.
can I talk to you about this? So I held a lot of that stuff in.
Yeah.
So when you were going through your situations, did you have anybody that was pouring into you?
I absolutely did not. I did not have anybody that I can go to. I didn't. Me and my mother had some type of issues that we had growing up,
Okay.
so it wasn't where I can go to my mom. She worked at night, so when she was there during the day, we didn't spend a whole lot of time together. We didn't have different conversations, so I never opened up to her. And then I have a lot of brothers. I don't have any sisters, but I have a lot of brothers, so I wasn't able to go to them, with certain things that I was encountering,
Okay.
because I didn't feel like they even saw me. I felt unheard and unseen. So
Mm-hmm.
in the midst of that, I went through all of that stuff all the way to 30 years old when I first came out about any of it. So I was 30 years old when I opened my mouth to say, hey, this happened to me and I want to make sure it doesn't happen to somebody else.
Good, good, good. And so in saying that, in the relationship that you had with your mother when you was coming
Mhm.
up, do you believe or do you feel that that was like the foundation of what you started going through in your life as far as the trauma situations?
I don't feel like it was the foundation for it. I do believe that it played a part in it,
Okay.
because she didn't ask questions. She didn't ask me like how my day was. She didn't ask me, things that I was going through. She
Okay.
never asked questions. So I didn't realize it till much, much later when I began to write the books and things like that. That's when the revelations started coming to me.
Okay.
Like she didn't know how to do those things. And it
Mm,
was because, my mom was adopted for one, so
okay.
being adopted, she was already, separated from her own mother. So
Right.
me being the only girl, she didn't know how to come and ask me certain questions or see how my day was or to see, if I was having boyfriends, relationships, she didn't ask me those questions because it just wasn't on her mind to do that.
Yes. So let's stay right there for a minute. Let's talk about
Mhm,
communication. How
mhm.
important do you feel communication is with the parent and the child? And if the child doesn't have both parents, now it can be either the father or the mother because it goes both ways nowadays.
Right.
So how important do you believe that the communication is between the parent and the child?
The communication is very important. I say that because you never know what they're experiencing or what they're going through. Because if they feel like you can't hear them or even listening to the why behind the questions without hearing the actual answers,
Right.
you really don't know how they're feeling. You don't know what they're going through.
Right.
And the only way you're going to find out those things is by having that communication where you can talk to them about anything or
Right.
allow them to come to you to talk about anything without judging them.
Good.
We don't want to talk at them and we don't want to judge them because their experiences now is totally, probably different from ours,
Right.
but it's still something that has to be talked about. It has to be addressed. It has to be brought up because if we're not doing those things, then we're missing a lot of who they are as a person. We're missing out on the things they like, things they dislike. We're not having that open communication. So there's no open door for them to go back and forth to say, oh, my mama listened to me. Oh, my daddy listened to me. But
Right.
yet we're not doing those things. So we have to make sure that communication is a two-way stream and make
Mhm.
sure that it's open for them to do so.
And that's good, because I know, and we was talking about this briefly before we came on the platform, where
Mhm.
we hear in the home, I'm the parent. You do as I say,
Right.
not as I do. Or another saying that we used to hear: "What happens in this house stays in this house."
Right.
So, in that saying right there alone, how do you feel that that can be like part of the trauma cause for a child because something that they've gone through now? Mama and daddy told me I can't say or I can't tell nobody what's going on in the house. So how does that affect the child?
So that affects a child really a lot because they can't express themselves if something's going on, if something's happening in their lives because they feel like, well, it may be the parents that's doing those things and they can't go outside to tell somebody else because mom and
Right,
daddy said, don't tell nobody. And
right.
if you tell somebody, this is going to happen to you or, whatever.
Hmm.
So now they feel like, man, I can't tell nobody because I'm gonna get in trouble or they're gonna, say something or whatever it is. So now they're silent. They're not saying anything. And that's the one of the things that I try to get away from
Okay.
because a lot of times we try to listen to that statement of what happens in this house stays in this house. And
Mhm,
that's where abuse starts to happen. It's
mhm.
mostly in the house. It's somebody that you know, somebody that you're close to.
Right.
And we're wanting to put our trust in those people. And then yet those be the same people that turn around and hurt us.
Yes,
So yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. And that's good right there, Tasha, because I believe just that saying, even though it may be a small saying, I do
right,
believe that has a major effect on the child, because now what we're teaching our children is when somebody does something to you that offends you or that is not ethical, then you're supposed to just suck it up and just go with the flow.
yeah,
But
mm-mm,
we need to get away from that. We need to break the cycle, and that's what tonight's topic is: how to breaking the toxic cycles within our children, because
right,
things that we've been taught coming up, going through our childhood, and oftentimes we begin to repeat what we have been taught. And
absolutely,
then so now we're repeating, so now the cycle keeps going over and over and over
hmm,
again until somebody breaks a cycle. And we talk about generational curses and what have you. And even with the molestation part, we have
hmm,
children, or we have aunts or uncle who's been touched, or
right,
they've been the ones touching, and because nobody wants to speak out about it, then now our children, we're hurting our children. And what talking to other people, and on that topic right there, on that subject of molestation and rape within the family, and what I think causes more pain and more trauma to a child is when, even though that parent knows that their child is being touched, they're not saying nothing, or they're not defending their child. And when they're not defending their child, and a worse thing is that they still allow that person
come on,
to come around their child after your child and disclose, hey, uncle did this, or stepdaddy did this, or my cousin did this, but yet you still allow that individual that caused your child pain to come back in there.
right.
So how do you think, Tasha, that when we allow that person who has victimized our child to still come in the presence of our child, how does that affect our child?
It causes more trauma. It causes more damage, because now they're hearing after they done told you this person did
Mm,
this to me and you're not listening to me. So now you're letting me know that you don't care either. And that's
right.
more damage because now they can't even trust you or talk to you about what's going on because they feel like if they come in to tell you one thing
Mm,
and you're pushing it to the side, you're ignoring them. You're not taking in how they're actually feeling or what's
right.
going on. You have
Right.
dismissed the whole situation. And I can only relate to that because like I said, I was 30 years old when I first came out. I
Mhm.
didn't come out as a young kid about the sexual abuse because it was a family member that first did this to me. I was
Mm,
molested 3 times and raped once.
wow.
So the first time, it was done in within the family, and it
Okay.
was because they thought, they trust this person,
Mm,
and come to find out when I spoke out everybody and their mama was in my inbox telling me, "Oh, this happened to me too," but yet
mhm.
nobody spoke up. Nobody stopped the pattern. It could have, been stopped a long time ago because
Right.
one of my own brothers even told me, "Why you didn't say anything?" Now, mind you, he was older than me, but
Okay.
he came. When I said something, it was like, "Well, you should have said something." Well, if you had said something, then it may have stopped. This may
Hmm.
not have kept on, and that's
Right.
where the communication is so broken down because everybody want to keep everything a secret.
A
It's
secret.
not a secret when it comes to something like that. That's something that
Right.
needs to be addressed. Maybe that child or a person has dealt with something else, and now they're trying to pass it off to the next person. So they're
Right.
doing it to somebody else to get back or whatever the case may be. They're
Hmm.
trying to reenact that same thing that happened to them, and that's what happened in my family. It
Hmm.
was reenacted more than one time to
Wow.
multiple people, and nobody said anything. But then when I came out, everybody just stopped talking to me and felt like, oh, she told a family secret. But
Uh-huh.
I had to realize, and it took me a long time to realize that I did
Okay.
nothing wrong. It wasn't,
Absolutely.
it wasn't my fault. It wasn't something that I told somebody to do to me.
Mm-hmm.
They did this at their own free will, which
Mm-hmm.
caused me trauma,
Right.
and they didn't realize how much pain that they were doing to me. But that's the
Mm.
same thing for our kids. They are going through these different patterns of trauma
Yes.
and
Yes.
not having somebody to go to that's really willing to listen to them and help them. They're willing to, most people are ready just to push it to the side and
Mm-hmm.
disclose it to,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we're just not going to talk about that. We don't want people to know what's happening over here because we don't want to be judged. But we got to get
Right.
out of that mindset to make
Right.
people believe that it's okay, because that's not okay. So to
Right.
address the question, it causes more trauma than which they're thinking that it causes.
Yes, absolutely. Is That's good. And we do have to get out of that, because we're causing more harm than we're doing any good.
Hmm.
And then to hear that, well, why did you not? Why you say something, and when you did say something, everybody stopped talking to you.
Right.
So even when your family members stopped talking to you, how long did it take for you to actually forgive? I mean, not even take what they were saying with a grain of salt, knowing that what you did was good.
So at the beginning, it was kind of hard at first, but I
Okay.
was always reminded, because as a little kid, I would always go to my mom and say, "Oh, why do I forgive this person or that
Mhm.
person all the time?"
Mhm.
And she would make the statement to me, "I don't know how you forgive everybody, because I don't."
Mhm.
So
Mm.
later on, it kind of made me feel like, okay, well, if I'm forgiving everybody for what they done to me, because I did reach out to my abusers and let them
Okay.
know that I forgave them. And once I realized I can actually do that, that's when I
Mm.
realized that, hey, I don't no longer have to carry that baggage with me. I can
Okay.
release it, and whoever believe it or not, they can believe it. If
Mm.
they don't, that's fine, because it's my story. It's something that happened to me.
Right. And you, at that point in time, Tasha, you took your power back.
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
you went to your abusers and you told them and you forgave them, right then you took your power back.
Yeah,
And that's good, because a lot of times we don't know how to take our power back. And
right.
so what happens is we'll take our pain, into our adulthood and into
Hmm.
relationships, and then we're wondering why our relationships don't work. Then we wonder why, we can't make a connection with somebody, because what has happened. And I always use an analogy where a clothes hamper, where
Hmm.
and it's just like our life, the issues, the things that we go through, and it's just like a clothes hamper, because the more we
Right,
keep putting in, eventually it's going to overfill, right? It's going to
right.
fall over, because we're not dealing with the trauma. And I know when I was going through my trauma, I always say, if I didn't think about it, it didn't bother me. It didn't happen. I try to sweep it on the rug, but later on down the road, there was always a trigger.
Right.
Something, it could have been something that somebody said. Somebody could have raised their voice, or it could have been a smell, could have been a song, or
Mhm.
something that would
Yeah.
make me, what it caused me to have a trigger. And then I wonder, why am I going through these things, or why am I so angry and lashing out at innocent people?
Right.
Somebody that never did anything to me, but because they were in my circle, I lashed out to them, because I didn't talk to nobody about it. I kept it to myself. And
Mhm.
so, I thought I could handle it. I thought I was strong enough to handle it. But
Right.
again, it caused so much more trauma, because I didn't want to deal with it. So
Right.
it's just like a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Eventually, allow that pressure, it start building up, and then all of a sudden it explodes.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's
So
how
for
it is
me,
with our kids. We keep
yeah,
allowing our kids to go through certain things in life, and eventually they're going to explode, because they don't
absolutely.
have an out, and our kids need out on how to relieve whatever it is that they're dealing with,
Yeah.
the issues that they're going through. Because now, like you said, you know things that our kids are going through now, and what they're seeing now, we didn't even see all that stuff, or we didn't go through half of that stuff our kids are going through now. They
Right.
have social media, they have, that I
Mhm.
mean, social media is at your fingertip, so you're
Right.
seeing they seeing all kind of things, and they don't know how to come and talk, or especially if a parent does not have that open door policy, where you come and talk to me, whatever's going
Right.
on. So
Mhm.
we're just causing, again, more trauma to our
Mhm.
children, more trauma to our kids. And I want to talk about something, and I know a lot of us don't want to talk about, but I experienced this when I was working in the prison, where women want a man so bad,
Mhm.
If they allow their children to be in the presence of that man, knowing that man has been touching their child,
Mhm.
they know that their child's been touched. And the story is, I had an inmate that, and she told me her story that she allowed her man to touch her daughter, and they were sleeping in the same bed.
Mhm.
Said because he used to threaten her and say, if you didn't allow me to have my way with your daughter, that he was going to leave her. So what she did was, because she didn't want that man to leave, and it wasn't the child's father,
Mhm.
um, she allowed him to have his way with her daughter, and she was lying in the bed.
Wow. Wow. Mm.
And that right there, it opened my eyes. And then seeing that movie that TD Jakes made, when what
Mhm.
was that, when she actually shot the guy at the altar,
Right. I know which one.
because they want a man so bad that they'll be willing to sacrifice their children and
Wow.
happiness, a well-being for their child. And that's
Mhm.
just like the young girl that I was taking care of out here in Vegas, with my organization.
Mhm.
And I did a house visit, and I was talking to her and stuff like that. So the baby girl started revealing a lot of stuff to me. And she told me that her mother, allowed her boyfriend, to touch them. And then when both of the young girls went to the mother and told the mother what was going on, the mother said, well, she wants to keep her boyfriend, which he was in a relationship with another woman, but
Wow.
she was a side piece. So in that, she said, well, you guys can leave the house, he's going to stay here.
Mhm.
So how much trauma,
Right.
how much trauma do you think just hearing those words from your parent that's supposed to be protecting you is
Wow.
allowing somebody to violate you because they want to keep that man in the house?
Yeah, that's oh my. Yeah, that's a deep one right there.
Yeah.
But it's happening a lot. It's
Yes.
definitely happening a lot. You see them trying to keep them for financial reasons or whatever.
Hmm.
And it's oh my, it just
Yeah,
tears the kids apart because they don't understand how can my mama do this to me? How could she pick or
absolutely.
choose this person over me when she's
Absolutely.
supposed to be the first person to love me, the first person to protect me?
Absolutely.
And they lose all that respect for their parent at that
Hmm.
time because they're looking at the fact that you allowed this, you
Right.
did this, and now they're wondering why she's disrespecting me, why she's doing this and that.
Hmm.
Well, you allowed this trauma to happen to her. Now she
Hmm.
don't know how to address it because
Hmm.
you thought it was okay,
Right.
and that trauma carries on until she can understand that, okay, I gotta forgive mama, I gotta
Hmm.
forgive the person that hurt me, I gotta let them go. And that relationship may never be able to mend again
Right.
because of the trauma.
Right. And that is so true. And sometimes, like you said, it won't be able to mend, or somebody happens to pass away and they were
Right.
able to forgive.
My
So
God. Mhm.
talk about forgiveness. Talk
Yeah.
about how important forgiveness is. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about forgiveness. I know it is a big pill to swallow. It
Yeah.
took me a while to get to that point, to forgive, because I was a person that always was revengeful. So you
Mhm.
did to me, I'm coming back for you double. And so,
Right.
like I said again, it took me a while before I realized that forgiving, the individual that hurt me, it wasn't for them, it was for me. It was for
Absolutely.
my peace. It was for, I took my power back, because if I was to hear that person's name, literally I would cringe, or the hair on my arms would stand up. That's how
Mhm.
much power that person had over me. And I was like, ugh, I gotta leave. I can't be in the same room.
Mhm.
But again, to hear you say that you were able to call and tell, your abusers, I forgive you, you
Right.
know, it took a lot of strength to do that, because sometimes things has happened to people, happen to us. It can be 20, 30 years that has happened to us. But
Mhm.
we get to a point where we don't want to let it go. We don't want to forgive. And then holding on to trauma, holding on to unforgiveness is like a cancer.
Right.
It'll begin to eat at you from the inside
Mhm.
out, because you're not ready to let go of this
Right.
person that done something to you. Again, it's not for them, it's for you.
Absolutely. It's definitely for you. And I tell people all the time, especially when I'm doing some of my counseling or even mentoring,
Mhm.
the forgiveness is not for the other person. The
Right,
forgiveness part is for you. If
right.
you're able to forgive, then God is willing to he's going to take that forgiveness and open doors for you that you probably
Mm,
would have never even imagined. But if
right.
you hold on to that unforgiveness, you're only holding yourself back from what God can bless you more with.
Yes.
So forgiveness for me, like I said, it came at an early age, being able not to really even understand it, but I knew
Mhm.
I was operating in that, in that forgiveness area. So
Right.
being able to forgive people, it was like a freedom. It was a door that opened for me to be able
Okay.
to say, freedom is at your fingertips if you can just forgive me.
Mm,
It's not saying that you have to go back and be around these people again or talk to them,
right.
because it's not about that. The forgiveness is for you to be able to let it go. And that's what the
Hmm.
part a lot of people don't understand, that let go part, because they like to say, oh, I can forgive and I can forget.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
yeah, but then truthfully, you're not gonna forget it. But the thing is, you have to let it go, because if you're not letting it go, you're continuing to pick that baggage up with you. You continue to carry that on your back,
Mm,
willing to let the enemy attack you by
right.
holding on to it when he told you. You got to forgive and let go. It's a two-part thing, and it goes
Yes.
together. And if
Yeah.
you're not doing that, you're only hurting yourself in the process.
Absolutely. And that's good that you said that, because also the Bible says if we can't forgive, how do we expect God to forgive us?
Right.
And again, it's still a big pill to swallow.
Yeah, it
It
is.
is a big pill. And I get it. And it take you some time to get to that point where
Mhm.
you say, okay, I forgive. Okay. I'm not going to allow what they did to me to cause me to stay in a mental bondage, mental
Right.
prison, because that's what it is,
Right.
emotional prison. So, like you said, it's all about being free, setting yourself free.
Yeah,
And then, doors begin to open, because why? Because you
absolutely.
to forgive someone that hurts you.
Yeah.
And God said He'll fight your battles. Your enemy become your footstool.
Yeah.
And He said in His word, and we know that His word is never going to return to Him void. But again, it takes maturity to get to that point.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it
absolutely.
takes it takes it takes a lot. It takes a lot of courage. Takes a lot of strength to say, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to go ahead and forgive you. And I'm not saying that you have to go to that person and say forgive,
Right.
but sometimes, like when I do my coach, and I would tell them, write a letter to them. Write
Write
a
a
letter
letter,
to
tear it
your
up, do whatever, set it on fire.
yep, burn
However
it
you figure out how to do it, you're doing it because you need to do it.
up.
It has nothing
Absolutely.
to do with them, And I promised myself, even when I was younger, when I first came out about what was going on with me,
Okay.
I always was worried about, well, what if they don't say I'm sorry or they don't apologize or
Mm,
whatever.
good.
I had to get to a place of saying, it's okay even if they don't say I'm sorry or they
Right.
apologize for what they've done. Because
Right.
I did have one of my abusers that actually said, no, I don't remember doing that. And, and
Mhm.
I was like, okay, fine. Well, I'm just
Mhm.
telling you what you did. And
Mhm.
that's the end of it. I forgive you and it's over for me. Like, I didn't
Right.
want to carry that baggage on with me any longer. So,
Right.
it's very important that we get to a state, and that stage where we
Mhm.
can honestly say, I don't need an apology. I'm not looking for anything. I just want
Right.
to be free. I want to
Right.
release it so that I no longer have to worry about um, that coming back up or being a trigger for me later on,
Mm.
because I don't want to be stuck in a place that I don't have to be.
Right. That's good. That's good, Tasha. Being able, even though regardless if they accept it or not, or regardless if they,
Right.
or apologize or not, you're setting yourself free.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, is being able to be free. So you say you were 30 years old when you actually, came out about it. So
hmm
after releasing it, how did you feel after you just let it all out?
It was like a bag of rocks just released off of me, because I
Mm,
had been carrying it for so long, and going all those years being around that person, even after
mhm.
they had done the things to me, I
Right.
was still around them because of course their family members, nobody knew, we wasn't speaking on it, talking about it.
Right.
And you never would hear those conversations about, oh, if somebody does this to you or that. Nobody was having those type of conversations, so I never would have known
Mhm.
until much later. And what made me come out about it is because my daughter was attending a wedding, and in that wedding, I knew I couldn't be there, but I didn't want her to not be in the wedding. So I
Okay.
said, hey, I know, I said it to another family member, and I was like, hey, I know this person is going to be there. Please watch my baby. Like,
Yes.
I would call every day. I would say, who's bathing her, who's doing, who she's sleeping with, things like that.
Hmm.
And, at that point, that's when everybody was like, why is she asking these questions? So
Yeah.
at that moment, it was like, okay, the Holy Spirit began to speak and said, you gotta, say what's going
Tell
on
it.
and why you're saying this stuff. So I went ahead at that point because it had been, blocked out of my mind for so many years.
Mm.
So finally I said, okay, let me tell my mom. And when I told her, it was
Hmm.
like a release, but then it also felt like a slap in the face because the remarks that I got back from it was, the why you didn't say anything. And
Hmm.
a lot of people didn't understand I wasn't saying anything because I didn't, at the time, I didn't want my dad to go to jail. I didn't want to see my
Right.
brothers get hurt. I didn't want to see anything or anybody get hurt in the process. So I didn't
Mhm.
say anything.
Right.
So being able to release it, it just felt like a backpack full of rocks had just came off of me. And I was
Mm.
able to say, okay, I no longer have to worry about this no more. I'm free
Mm.
from it. And whatever
Right.
happens now is however God sees fit for it to happen. So, like I said, it was released. And,
Mhm.
of course, people stopped talking to me for many, many years. But
Mm.
then when they did see me, it was like, it was like, wow, I'm proud of you. But at the same time, it was like, I could have never did it. I just don't worry about it. And I said, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are stuck where they are because
Yeah.
they rather not deal with the things. And I'm always
Yeah.
telling people, in order to heal from anything, you have to face it. If
That's
you're not
right.
facing it, you can't heal from it because
That's
you're
right.
continue to mask it down or cover it up. You got
Right.
to be able to take the mask off of it to say, hey, this happened to me and I no longer want this baggage. It's not mine to carry and I don't want it anymore.
I know that's right. I know that's right. So imagine you going through this and then up to the age of 30.
Hmm.
Now imagine how a child
Right,
feels about something like this, or even it can be something else that they just can't get out and talk
right.
about. Imagine how they feel or what they
Yeah, they
going
feel
through, what's
stuck. They
going on in their
feel
minds.
Yeah, they feel stuck. They feel like, hey, nobody loves me, nobody cares, nobody sees me, nobody hears me. So they're
Mm,
repeating these things over and over to where now they're believing it. They're
yeah,
believing it because there's so much going on and nobody's telling them the truth. So if they're not hearing the truth, that they can be able to talk about the things that they're experiencing, they're going to
right.
continue to carry that baggage with them. They're going to continue to not talk about things or share
Hmm.
things, and
Hmm.
now they're trying to be protective of themselves because they feel like they can't share anything with anybody
Right.
because everybody is either judging them or saying you lying or whatever the case may be. And that's not the truth. The truth is a lot of parents just don't want to hear it because they are probably working, they have
Hmm.
other stuff going on. But
Right.
that's why I tell the parents they need to pause, take a break, ask your kid how was their day, get
Right.
to know what's going on with them. If you're not doing those things, you're missing out on their life. You're missing out on the things that they're coming against.
Yeah.
Even with the bullying and things like that, you're missing those signs because you're not aware of who they are.
Absolutely. And that's a great point because once they feel that they can't come to you and talk to you about certain things, then it's just they'll totally shut down.
Yeah,
And then they'll start carrying things around on their shoulders, and then you begin to see them acting out in other
yeah,
areas of their life. You may see the grades dropping. You may
mhm,
see them self-medicating.
yeah,
You may see them even become cutters. They'll
absolutely,
withdrawn. They're always in their rooms or isolating themselves because they don't want to be around nobody. Because
right,
why? They don't feel secure or they don't feel safe
right,
around the individuals that's supposed to be taking care of them or making sure that they're okay.
right,
And something I want to stress, and you can even chime in on it. But if a child comes to you and tells you, "Hey, this person did this to me," don't just discard it and say, "Oh, it didn't happen."
right,
Please investigate. If no matter what, if you feel like you're gonna lose a family member or two or three, your job as a parent is to make sure that your child is safe and
mhm,
secure at all times. And
right,
if a younger child, doesn't know how to really communicate or express what he or she are going through. But if a young child tells you or begins to act out around a certain person,
Mhm.
begins to holler and start screaming and crying,
Mhm.
and it's always around this certain person, take heed to that. Pay
Right.
attention to those actions, because don't just, oh, that she just acting out, or she just being bad. No, really stop and think about why your child is acting out the way that they're acting out around only this certain person. It has to be something more. And if the child cannot express or communicate or what he or she going through or what has happened to them, you can even get dolls or Barbie dolls or something like that and have them reenact
Mhm.
what has happened or what that individual's doing. So that way now okay, so okay, my baby's trying to tell me something. Take heed or pay attention to what your child is saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Pay attention to the signs, the things that they're doing, because a lot of times, like you said, the younger kids don't know how to say anything or they don't know how to speak up. So they
Hmm.
would rather just cry about it or, throw things. I have not a patient, but because I work in a hospital too,
Right.
but I have a kid that is actually goes to church with me, and she's always throwing things or being rebellious when she's in the classroom.
Uh-huh.
And, when you go to try to address those things with the parent, you know, they don't really want to take heed to what you're saying because one, it could be a cultural thing, or it could be something that they're just, they're just doing that because they want their way. But a lot of
Right.
times that's not what it is. A lot of times they're trying to express themselves and don't know how to tell you, so they are doing certain things because they're trying to get your attention to say, hey, look at me, this is what's
Right.
going on. This person or whoever it is that's around me is doing
Hmm.
something to me, but they can't say anything. So you have, like, I work with eating disorders in the hospital, and
Okay.
the eating disorders, you see them with always, a lot of them come in with suicide ideation, or
Mm.
they've attempted suicide.
Okay.
And I can speak for myself because I dealt with the suicide attempts as well.
Okay.
Just being able to not voice myself. Even when I was younger, I would stay in my room isolated all the
Mm.
time because I felt like, hey, nobody in this house protecting me. So why am I going to come and talk to
Right.
y'all? Or we don't have that conversation because, for one, me and my brothers, we didn't have a close relationship. And
Okay.
again, me and my mom didn't talk a lot. My
Okay.
father passed away when I was 7.
Hmm.
So a lot of things I just kept to myself. And, I remember this one, this not an incident, but one Christmas I was visiting a brother's house, and I'll
Okay.
never forget the family, the people that was there. They were
Hmm.
like, man, who is that? Like, they were asking who I was.
Uh-huh.
And they would say, oh, that's my sister, like that. And they was like, that's my blood sister, because I guess
Mm.
they had play sisters or whatever. And they
Okay.
was like, what? Like, we never even knew you had a sister. We used to come to your house all the time. Where was
Oh,
she?
wow.
And they say, oh, she was in a room, or and that's how much I stayed in my room, because I
Mm.
isolated myself because I felt unprotected. And that's what
Mm.
a lot of our kids are doing now. They're cutting themselves. They're,
Yes.
trying
Yeah.
to do whatever to, like, the eating disorders. They're trying to use that as a mechanism to say that's something I can
To
control, so
control.
I'm gonna
That's
use
right.
this.
Yes.
Or it's just a lot of different things that they can put in place of trying to, I guess, mash down the pain and the hurt, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody is kind of overlooking them and not paying
Hmm.
attention to what's going on. So that's
Right.
why it's very important for that communication part, and
Hmm.
for them to be able to know that, hey, it's okay to speak up when something's wrong. It's okay to speak up
Absolutely.
when celebrate them in the things that they're doing good, but
Absolutely.
also ask them about the things that are not going good, because we all go through something. But when we don't talk about it, we don't know.
Right. And that is so true, Tasha. It just it's it's mind-boggling that sometimes I understand that as parents we have to go to work and we have to do certain things. And sometimes, yeah, we're not gonna catch everything.
Right.
But it is very important that, especially in these times now, for us to be as parents to be involved in our kids' life,
Hmm.
even to pick up subtle movements. That's not the norm of my child.
Right.
Why is he or she acting this way? And why is she not eating, or why is she
Hmm.
all of a sudden now she used to wear vibrant colors, and that people may think this is something so simple,
Yeah.
but it has a big significance. Okay, my child used to wear yellow and oranges
Hmm.
and greens, and all of a sudden now they're wearing straight black.
Right. Yeah.
You have to pay attention to those
Wearing
things.
black clothes,
Black nail
loose
polish.
clothes.
Yeah.
They changed up their whole attire because
Yeah.
they, for whatever reason it is, let's just say sexual abuse. They
Right.
don't no longer want to wear the clothes that's fitting because they feel like, oh, maybe it was because I had on the tight
Right.
jeans or whatever
Mhm.
it is. So now
Mhm.
they're being judged, thinking, oh
Right.
well, maybe they're just wearing these things because now they feel like they want to wear something else. No, pay attention to the color schemes, pay
Yes.
attention to the hair, hairstyles and things
Yes.
like that. It's a
Yes.
reason why they're doing those things.
And it may, like, again, it may seem minute, it may seem petty, but these are some of the signs that we need to look at. And even,
Yeah.
go in your, and I tell parents, go in your children's room, and
Yeah.
people say, oh, that's invading the privacy. But again, if your child's not communicating and not talking to you,
You
I
gotta
used
look
to
for the
go in my
signs.
kids' room and do searches. I would go and see what's in the rooms and what have you,
Yeah.
because sometimes things that you would not normally know that your child is doing, if you was to go in and look around and certain things, you'll be able to find, like markers and vape
Mm-hmm.
pens, all them different things, and now, well, I won't say now, it was been going on for a while, where kids can actually hide stuff in the sole of their shoes. There's
Mm-hmm.
like, they have a little opening at the top of the tip top of the shoe, and they can
Right.
like slide stuff in there. So again, it's very important to know what your child is doing, and who's your child's hanging around with. And
Right.
let's go a little further. Okay, yes, everybody smoke weed. Okay, well, I won't say everybody because I don't,
Mm-hmm.
but you have people that do that. Okay,
Right.
to each their own. But again, that is a gateway.
Right.
A lot of
Absolutely.
times people don't want to say, okay, that's just, it's something so simple, or it's not harmful. But
Mm-hmm.
again, it is a gateway. So your child may be indulging in marijuana, or smoking marijuana, um, and then it may open the door to something else. Or, well, let me try pop a pill, or let me
Mm-hmm.
try X, or let me try, some Coke or something like that. And
Right.
you may think, how a kid get hold of some Coke? Believe me, in the schools,
Mm-hmm.
kids have access to those things. And I
Oh
remember when
yeah.
my youngest son was in high school, and he used to tell me, Mom, they getting high right in the classroom. I said, in the classroom? He said,
Mm-hmm.
they be sitting in the back of the classroom getting high.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Or walking down the hall, and you can know which
Pick
locker
up a
to go to
contact. Mm-hmm.
to get you what you want to get, some pills and stuff like that. So it's very important that we be mindful as parents, even grandparents,
Right.
because you have grandparents now that's taking care of you, the grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be mindful as adults. We have to be mindful of what our children is doing, or what they're not doing, lack thereof. If they're beginning to isolate themselves, not
Yeah.
eating, like you mentioned, the clothes, pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to the clothes, because they're crying for help in other ways. They may not come out and say, Mom, I'm hurting. Mom, I've been violated, or Dad, I've
Right.
been this. But if you begin to pick up, and you watch your child's move, and okay, my child don't normally move that like that, or my
Right.
child normally wouldn't act like that, something must not be right. And so
Mm-hmm.
again, there goes that open communication, where you sit down and talk with your child. This is what going on, or how's your day, on a
Right.
daily, like you said, ask them how they doing on a daily. And
Mm-hmm.
Michael, go to a question.
Okay.
So Michael said, long story short, my dad was very abusive, and he got terminal cancer. He said, I drove from Carson City to Las Vegas, and as soon as I walked in the room, he asked me to forgive him for all the abuse. Being a believer, I said, Dad, I forgave you 10 years ago. I know there was a victorious abuse cycle. My dad passed away 25 years ago, and I still am healing. Doctors gave my dad 2 weeks to live, but he lived 2 years. I was his master caregiver. So for those 2 years, I was blessed to be bond with my dad for the first time. And
That's
he
good.
said, I did break the abuse cycle with God. Good, good,
Amen. That's
good
good. That's
testimony.
real good.
Yes, it is. And again, that takes, even after
That's strength.
someone abusing you, you still take care of them.
Yeah.
Um, and that takes a lot of strength as well. Just like that
Mm-hmm.
movie, another Tyler Perry movie. when what was a Diary of a Mad Black Woman,
Uh-huh.
when he was abusive to her and he did her wrong, but she took care of him when he was sick, when everybody else ran away, even though he left her for that girl, but she ran away and took everything, but she was there
Mhm.
to take care of him. So again, that takes a lot of strength because
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
I
It
don't
takes a
know
lot of
if
strength.
I can do that.
Yeah, that's good. That was real good.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times people will say, "Oh, no, they did this to me. I'm not gonna do nothing for them." But I'll never
absolutely.
forget the person that abused me. I literally, he got sick right after that.
Okay.
Right after me telling him I forgave him and things like that, and I never
Mm,
forget. I guess, God was trying to see if I really forgave and I
mhm.
really, did what I said I was gonna do.
Right.
We had a family reunion. I want to say not too long after that, and I'll never forget. His sister called me and asked me where was I coming, and I was like, I don't know, like, where is it gonna be? And
Mhm.
she said, oh, it's gonna be at his house, and I said, it's gonna be where? I said, I don't know. I said, no, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that. And she was
Right.
like, like, why? And I explained it to her, and she never knew.
Mhm.
So when I told her, she was like, she just started crying and things like that. But I
Mm.
said, God, if you want me to go down here, and
Uh-huh.
you got to go with me, because I want to make sure that I'm forgiving, like
Right, right, right,
like what I said I was doing. And
right.
so I went to the family reunion and everything, and
Okay.
I kid you not, I got out the car. That was the first person that walked up to me.
Oh, wow.
And I said, oh, wow. It was like I had to like catch my breath. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is really happening. And he
Mhm.
asked me for a hug. And I was just like, oh, wow, this is really happening. So
Mm.
I did. I gave him a hug. And that's when I really, really knew that I had forgave him.
Wow.
Um, and, I was just like, it takes a lot. So
Yeah.
what Michael has shared with us, I'm just
Yeah.
astonished, because a lot of times that a lot of people can't do that, and
No.
especially taking care of their parent or the person that abused them. That is
Right.
something that you you know your enemies be like, oh no, you crazy, I'm not
That
gonna do
part.
that.
That
But
part. I'm like,
yeah,
you on your own, honey.
right. But yeah, that's really good.
It is, and it takes a lot of courage and strength, I would say.
Hmm.
I commend you on that right there, Michael, because me personally, ah, I would have to do something extra like you did, Tasha. Lord, if you want me to go,
Yeah.
you want to go before me, behind me, and on the side of me.
Hmm.
Because that takes a lot,
Yeah.
to forgive somebody that's been, abusive to you.
Right.
I'm glad that you were able to, forgive him. I'm
Hmm.
glad you were able to, man, before he passed away,
Right.
because now it's not on you anymore. Now you don't have the guilt or the burden to carry, the trauma with you.
Right.
You broke that cycle, like you said, you broke that cycle, and that's what tonight's
That's so
topic is
good.
about: breaking that cycle of
Yes.
toxic behavior,
Yes.
within our families, because and even in our children, because what we go through, our children go through, but because are continue on what was taught to us, and
Hmm.
we're doing it in our own families, we're still causing that hurt, and we're still causing that pain or that toxic behavior because we have not broke it yet.
Right.
And a lot of people say, well, that's what I've been taught, or that's how I've been raised, but sometimes the way we've been raised is not always the good way.
Let's say that.
And you have children now, so now we have to take into consideration our children. What's the
Mhm.
well-being of our children? How is it going to affect our kids? Is it going to cause them a long time of hurt and pain, or is it going to be a temporary? And we can't continue to put temporary band-aids on our hurt or on our trauma.
Mhm.
Eventually, when you keep wetting the band-aid's going to come
Come
off.
on. Mhm.
And we can't act like it never existed or it never happened, because again, what we're doing is we're still causing more pain. We're
Right.
still causing more trauma because we don't want to address it. And I want to express this, that and even in our culture, a lot of us don't like to go to a therapist because we think of going to a therapist we're crazy or we're weak.
Right.
But again, it opens up the door for you to be healed.
Right.
Um, because when you're healed as a parent, then you can raise
Come on.
a whole child. Because
Mm-hmm.
you being broken, you're damaged. How can you raise a whole child or a healthy child when you're damaged and you're broken? And we're not saying that is a bad thing for you, because things happen in our life. I get it.
Yeah.
But when you realize what you've been through, when you realize your hurt and your pain, then you'll be able to address it. And like you mentioned earlier, when you realize and you recognize what it is, then you can heal, you can move forward
Yeah.
properly, not act as if you didn't go through that or it didn't hurt, or if I don't think about it, it didn't exist. It
Right.
exists and it's going to continue to exist until you face it and deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You gotta face it, and you gotta be able to know that yes, it happened, and you acknowledge it. You
Yeah.
acknowledge what happened, how it made you feel. But the
Yes.
thing is, once you do that, then you are opening that door for God to say, "Okay, I can heal you now,"
Yeah.
because you're willing to let it go. You're willing to get that up off of you. You
Yes.
are willing to, no longer be in that cycle of abuse or trauma
Yeah.
or whatever
Yeah.
pattern that you have taken on as your own. It don't belong to you.
Right.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
that's so
Absolutely.
good.
Absolutely. And and it's all about healing for our kids and even
Right.
for us for that matter,
Mhm.
because we have to be, you want to be happy at some point in your life.
Right.
You can't continue to keep faking the funk.
Yeah.
We can't continue to keep wearing the mask thinking that nobody sees or nobody knows what you're going through. Because if I wear my expensive clothes, if I have all my jewelry on, I have my makeup on, and I'd ride in a nice vehicle and I have a nice house, my
Mhm.
pain is still there.
Yeah,
It still
absolutely.
exists, and we can't keep tending to cover it up because again, it's going to overflow some in some other areas in our life.
Mhm.
Whether it's a business relationship, whether it's a
Right.
personal relationship, or what your relationship with your family members, it's
Yeah.
gonna still be there and it's gonna affect everybody. And I like to say, we're leaving a piece of our DNA with whomever we come in contact with because we're not healed and our
Yeah.
wound is open. And then the more we keep going through life and more trauma we keep causing upon ourselves because we're not whole and we're not healed, we're just opening our wound even more. And so
Yeah,
now
keep cutting it
the
and make
wound
it
gets
deeper.
infected. Yes.
Mhm.
And your wound gets infected. And so now you got an infection. So you have to get to the root of that infection and whatever
Mhm.
was caused in your life that caused that root, you have to get to the root, kill the
Mhm.
root,
Mhm.
make sure that root does not come back and grow again.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I mean it happens. The roots you can kill it or dig it up. You
Mhm.
can kill it, so it's gonna come back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So
still there. It hasn't
right,
been dealt with.
right. And then the longer we don't deal with the root, the deeper the root gets,
Mhm.
and the stronger the root gets.
Mhm.
And then what happens? And then eventually you see when the roots begin to grow, like even in the ground. Then all of a sudden the roots gets big and strong, and they start coming up through the sidewalk.
Mhm.
So now that what is that saying? The roots that's implanted in us begins to
Grow.
show the other areas in our life
Mhm.
because we don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Or well, I don't want to talk about the person. I don't want to talk to the person. I don't want to forgive the person. Or, I'd rather just still be angry with them.
Yeah. Mm-mm. Can't hold on to those that you can't hold on to that.
Yeah.
Like it sets up all kind of, like you said earlier, cancerous. It
Yes.
just affecting every area in whether it's your health or whatever. It's starting
Right.
to set up an infection everywhere, and
Right.
it's just growing, and it's not being taken out because
Right.
you don't want to deal with it. And
Absolutely.
that was one of the things that I knew I had to deal with some things, even as a young kid growing up. I
Mm-hmm.
had to deal with it because it started to affect the relationships that I was in. I was steadily going in different patterns, steadily dealing with different people that was abusing me because I
Mm.
didn't know how to address it. So, these kids that nowadays, they're not addressing it because they don't know how.
They
They don't
don't.
know who to talk to, what to say, or how to do it. So if
Right.
they're not learning those things, then it's going to continue.
Right. And something I want to say, Tasha, is that fact, you know, in these times a lot of parents don't want you to say anything to their kids,
Hmm.
or say something to you. And
Right.
sometimes when us being in the arena that we're in, as far as the trauma and the healing, oftentimes when we see something, we're not saying it or saying something to you to be judgmental, or we're
Right.
not saying it to hurt you or to offend you in any kind of way. We're actually trying to share something with you. Why? Because either we've been through it already,
Right.
we've been down that road already.
Yeah.
So, we want to share with you and try to help you, prevent you from going down that dark road that we've been through or been down. And I just want to say this to, if someone is like that, if someone comes to you, it can be an older woman or what have you, it's coming to you trying to give you some wisdom,
Hmm.
accept it.
Right.
And what my pastor used to say, my bishop used to say, eat the meat and throw away the bone.
All about, yes.
So if it doesn't pertain to you,
Don't
throw
worry
it
about it.
away.
Yeah.
But if it sticks to you, take it and eat it and then learn from it.
Right.
We're not going to get it right. Parenting does not come with a manual. We're going to make mistakes every day. Every day we're going to make mistakes as a parent. But is that normal? Is that, yeah,
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
we're learning, we're working, we're walking through life.
Hmm.
Again, there's certain things that we're going to be dealing with in life. And no, okay, you may not do it what people say politically correct, but you're doing it the best way that you know how to do it.
Right. Absolutely.
And asking questions does not make you less than a person. It does not make you weak.
Not at all.
So if you having problems with your child, reach out to somebody. If
Yes.
you're having problems with your child, reach out to an organization. If you're in Texas, you have a Positive Express, right?
Right.
You have that over there, and then you have Arise Community Development here in Las Vegas. So it's like there's programs out there, and I know in certain areas there's you can call 211, and
Hmm.
they will give you information on what's the resources that's in your area. I
Okay.
know in Texas, because I was on the committee, um, there was creating an app for certain
Hmm.
cities in Texas, where you can hit that app and it have resources listed for
Right.
you. Um, I get it that sometimes people don't know how to maneuver, especially they're older. They don't know how to maneuver well with cell phones and technology. I get that, but there's other ways that you can reach and get information, such as 211, and
Right.
you give them your area where you're in, and they can give you information. If you don't know, go to your local law enforcement office, and ask them, do they have any programs for kids in your community? Because
Hmm.
9 times out of 10, they may know.
Right.
Ask if your child is still in school. Ask the school, do they know of any organizations that will be able to assist you and your child? And when you put your child in an organization, don't just put your child there because you don't want to deal with your child anymore. Get involved with
Yes.
your child.
Yes.
Do it with your child, because it's going to work better when you're working with
When
your
it's
child
both.
to get it
Absolutely.
right. Just you're gonna send them over there, and then what happens? The child comes back home. The environment's still toxic.
Hmm.
They're still dealing with toxicity, so it's not benefiting anybody involved. So if your child is in a program, and in the community and stuff like that, participate. I get sometimes you have to work. I get it. I truly get it. But take some time off. I'm pretty sure you have PTO or something like that. You know, take that little couple of hours and get involved. Go to PTA meetings. Whatever your child is in, just be involved, because that's what your child wants.
Right. Hmm. It lets them know that you care, that you're there.
Right.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Miss Tasha, we have done this has been a good show. This
Yes.
has been good. And you know what's so funny? Uh I had wrote some questions and stuff down. I
Hmm.
have I ain't used none of them questions. I'm just going off.
Right.
So
Yes.
but this was a much needed topic to
Hmm.
discuss, because again, we're not here to judge anybody.
Mm-mm.
We both have gone through certain things in life, and when we was going through, we didn't have the resources, or we didn't have people to reach out and do what Tasha and I do for the community or for the young people. So when you have somebody who's genuine, who really cares, and because we can be doing something totally different. We can be doing something else, but
Right.
we take time out of our schedules and away from our families to make sure that other children in the community are being taken care of, because
Yes.
we never know what somebody else is going through in life. So if you can be a help to somebody, be a help to somebody, be a help to a single mother, be a help to a single father that's going through. If you see a child lacking, talk to the parent. Hey, what can I do to help? Or is there
Right.
something, something like that? Just be that help, because we all need somebody.
Absolutely.
And Michael said, knowledge is power. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then he said, thank you, Miss Tasha.
You're
Thank
so
you. Welcome,
welcome.
Michael. Thank you for
You're so
sharing with
welcome.
us.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing your part of your testimony, Michael.
Yes.
Because it's good that men speak up, because a lot of times men don't
Absolutely.
like to
I
speak
love it.
up certain things. And that's what we need more of.
Yes.
Men who can be transparent to help other young men, because our men are hurting too.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
But yet some of them don't want to talk about it. But the ones that want to talk about it, and y'all want to talk, come on, come on, come on, come on. We want to help break some more cycles. We want to break some cycles. We want
Yes.
people to be healed today. What you say, Michael? For so long, I couldn't speak.
Yeah.
I believe it. I
Yeah. It,
believe
it
it.
muzzles you.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I believe it. But again, you took your power back.
Yes, he
Um,
did.
and you are showing other men or young men how to take their power back,
Yeah.
speaking, and then you being the man that you are, and having the strength that you did to take care of someone who used to abuse you. That
Yes.
takes strength.
Thanks. Yes, it does.
Yes. So I want to thank you, Michael, for doing that. um, it shows what type of man you are,
Yes.
when you can do something like that. It takes a lot,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody can't do
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, so Tasha, so if anybody's listening, they'll come back and watch the replay. Share with them your information if they are wanting to support your organization. Share with them some items that you are needing for donation for your organization, and where they can send to, or where they can cash up. I don't know how you receive your funds, but
Okay.
share your information with everybody, please.
Okay, so you can find the organization Positive Express on all platforms at Positive Express. Our website is positiveexpress.org. There is a donation on there where you can donate towards the programs that we do. You can donate towards the panty drive, which is one of our things that is a continuous thing that needs to be in the community for different facilities that we deal with that have young ladies there that need those items.
Okay.
And you can either go to our cash app, which is Positive Express 14. But everything is on our website. Go there to find even our books and things like that that goes back into the organization. So we just want to make sure that our girls, even the boys, are being reached in our communities, because they need somebody, and they need somebody to be able to know that they hear them and they see them.
Absolutely. And share with us where they can find some of your books.
So they can go to positiveexpress.org, or there's if you want to find all of my books, they're on Amazon. And you can look up my name, Tosha Dearborn.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Tasha, again, I want to thank you for coming on and having
You're
this
welcome.
dialogue with me on how to break the cycles of, toxic within our children. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit to sit down and share with us um, something that needs to be talked about in our community, across the board. It doesn't matter what nationality you are.
Right,
Every child, there's every nationality is getting hit. It doesn't discriminate. Toxic does not discriminate.
right,
Trauma does not discriminate.
right.
Um, so it can hit anybody. It can hit your loved one. It can hit you, for that
Yes,
matter. It may hit somebody that you know dearly. So it does affect us all. And even
yes,
if it just hits a loved one, it still affects us, because our loved one is connected to us. So
absolutely.
again, If you are experiencing trauma, um, you can reach out to your local authorities, or again, reach out to 211, and they'll be able to uh, provide you with some information that you need to go to, even if you have to get out, into a shelter or what have you. Um, Again, I want you guys to support Tosha Dearborn and her organization, Positive Express. She's doing great things in the Texas area. With the young ladies, if you can be a help and a support for her, in the panty drive, because we can never get enough pennies,
Right.
because it's going to be benefiting our young ladies, the young ladies that are needing the underclothes that they have, that Tasha's receiving as a donation.
Yes.
So again, reach out to Tasha Dearborn if you would like her to come and speak about trauma. She is certified in a lot of areas. You can follow her on a lot of the social platforms.
Yes.
Again, she said it's Positive Express, so please reach out to her. She's doing great things in Texas, for the young people. And so money, it's not enough money that won't be able to help her what she's doing. She's doing great things. So continue to do what you do, Tasha, in Texas. You're making a big impact in the young ladies' lives. You're making a big impact in other people's lives. Continue to pour positive information on your page. Like I follow you. I haven't met you personally, but
Right.
follow you a lot,
Yes.
for a while, and you're doing great things. So keep up the good work. Thank you for everything that you do. And
Thank you.
it is it. What time is it what time is it out there in Texas?
It is 10:11.
Ooh, yes,
Yes.
Lord.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been awesome. I'm
Yes,
just glad to be able to come on with you and share what's needed in our young children's lives. So thank you.
absolutely, absolutely. And you're welcome. And thank you again. And we may have some more topics down the line that that we
Mhm.
might talk about with trauma. It's all about healing,
Yes.
in this day and time, because a lot of us are hurting. A lot of
Yes.
us walking around and pretending that we're okay and we're not okay.
Right.
And it's okay to say that you're not okay. It
Absolutely.
doesn't
Yes.
less than a person. It doesn't mean that you're weak because you're reaching out and you're saying, "Hey, I need help. I'm drowning over here. I
Hmm.
need a life jacket." And you may, get you a good person that's genuine. It's not
Hmm.
about what they can get out of it, and it's not about going back telling other people, "I helped him" or "I helped her."
Yeah.
Find somebody that you can truly trust.
Yes.
You know that your information is going to be kept secret, because
Absolutely.
that's very important. You don't want to share your information with somebody and then have your information told to somebody else. And
Right.
by the time it gets back to you, they didn't add 2 or 3 different paragraphs to the whole situation.
Hmm.
So again, find somebody that you trust, that you can truly sit down and talk to. If you need somebody to talk to, we all need somebody to talk to from time to time. I
Right.
know I so, and it's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
So again, reach out to somebody and let somebody know, hey, I need help over here, and it's quite all right.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So Miss Tasha, it's see you later, not goodbye, but I'll see you later.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
All
You
right, have
have
a
a
good
good
night.
night. Good
Bye
night.
bye.
Bye bye.